Well, we want to welcome everyone today. IT specialists in the education field. You have very unique challenges this year with all that's going on. And I'll just say real quick personally, and on behalf of CDW, this group in particular, we really appreciate the unique challenges that you are undergoing and what that really means in our nation right now. So thank you very much for that. Hopefully we can offer you some stuff today that's going to be really helpful in that journey. So my name is Mike Roberts. I'm with the CDW ServiceNow Solutions team. You're also going to be hearing from Eros Canabrava with CDW, as well as ServiceNow's Jennifer McNeil. And before I hand it over to Eros, it's going to take a couple minutes and just let you know a little bit more about our team. So we have been in service management since 2003, exclusively with ServiceNow since 2013. So this was prior to the acquisition with CDW about this time last year. It's actually been about a year and a month. And our certifications, our application deployments you see there, that number actually, it's hard to keep the slide up to date because it's actually even more than that. That's why we have to use the plus there. But we have been around the block. We've got a lot of experience doing this and find ourselves in the top 5% of North American partners, and with frankly a lot of very, very satisfied customers. This next slide is going to show you a general overview of the categories of work that we do. So this is, you could look at this kind of end-to-end life cycle from design, where our advisory services team does maturity assessments, roadmaps, idle education certifications, to orchestrate, where we're actually helping customers implement, do upgrades. We are authorized ServiceNow trainers, to the managed portion, where we're helping them on an ongoing basis with our continuous improvement programs, ongoing support. We do staff logs, just a variety of things. Now, some of you on this call already have ServiceNow. Some of you don't yet. So I'm just going to give you a couple quick things about ServiceNow, not to belabor the point too much. We've been a leader for 6 years running now in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and now they're currently in the #1 position for IT service management. And frankly, it's not just an IT tool. That's just one use case of it. It is a workflow automation tool. In this next slide, you'll see really the full breadth and depth of it and all the areas of the organization that it touches. So again, so much more than just IT. There's still some people out there that think of ServiceNow as a help desk tool. No, it's so much more than that. It's across the entire organization. Our group has literally touched every piece of this. This is a cloud, by the way, if you're wondering what this object is. Every piece of this cloud puzzle that you're looking at here, we have experts in it, and we have a depth of experience. It's really hard to match in the marketplace. But lastly, ServiceNow is not just a great and very powerful platform in and of itself. We refer to it as a platform of platforms. So when ServiceNow comes into an organization, it doesn't necessarily replace every other tool that they're already using. Yes, there are sometimes legacy tools or things that have been sort of duct taped together that it's able to take the place of. But there's a lot of other tools that are still in use. And the power of ServiceNow is its ability to integrate and pull together the organization and give you a single pane of glass. You can see on this bottom row where it says systems of record, how all these things feed into ServiceNow and give you that visibility across all the workflows. The very bottom row are just examples of the integrations that CDW ourselves are using with the tools. So we can fully attest to, by the way, I didn't mention that, CDW uses ServiceNow. That's how we run our organization. So with that, let's look at a specific use case of what ServiceNow is doing to help in this particular crisis. And that's where we're going to turn it over to Eros Canabrava, our manager of R&D, to talk to us about ServiceNow's Safe Workplace suite.
Thank you, Mike. So as Mike was saying, ServiceNow really does a lot of things. And one thing I love about ServiceNow as an organization is their ability to pivot and to innovate. And that's something that's really been on display throughout the entire year. Earlier in the year, in March, ServiceNow released a set of applications that they called Emergency Response Management. And these applications were really released to help organizations manage the actions that they had to take during the COVID crisis. So, if you'll remember back in March, feels like decades ago at this point. Now, COVID was really kind of getting hot. We were starting to close down the country, businesses were taking a pause and transitioning to remote workforces. So this set of applications ServiceNow released free of cost to both existing ServiceNow customers and new ServiceNow customers. And as you might imagine, the demand was pretty large, right? 9,700 installations of emergency response management. And here at CDW, we followed suit. So we implemented emergency response management for a number of our customers free of charge at the time. Well, ServiceNow continued to build on that suite of applications, and eventually those evolved into what you're seeing here in the set of safe workplace applications. Now, unlike emergency response management, safe workplace is really about helping companies kind of transition back to work under the new conditions that we work in so that they can keep employees safe while continuing to be productive. And that's really what you're seeing here in this set of applications that was released at the end of May. And again, demand has really been pretty spectacular here with over 5,900 installations. When this first released, I think we only had about 5 applications in the suite, but ServiceNow has continued to both add features and functionality to these applications while adding new applications to the suite, with health and safety testing being the last application that was added. I'm going to walk you through the applications themselves and touch on their functionality. Then I'm going to walk you through kind of a specific use case for a customer that we implemented. So employee readiness, you can think of this as kind of the first step of taking what's now a remote workplace and moving them back into the office. So this is really around the ability to create surveys and notifications, to send those out to your employees. And this could be not just employees, by the way, we're talking about teachers, students, faculty, or any kind of auxiliary employees for the school. And we can send out these readiness surveys just to judge people's ability and readiness to come back to the campus. So is it something you want to do? Is it something that you're able to do? Any other questions that are important around kind of gauging what you think the turnout and what you think the kind of want is going to be for people to come back. Now, health screening is another piece of the puzzle here. And again, we're seeing this both with students, teachers, and additional staff. The idea here is before someone comes physically into a school, we want that person to report that they're not experiencing any symptoms so that we can control potential outbreaks. And the way that most schools are doing this is through a health attestation. So this might be a health attestation where the parent or guardian is attesting that the student isn't experiencing symptoms from coming in. It might be a health attestation that the teachers or school staff are taken before they come in, or that just visitors are taken. Those health attestations can really verify a number of things. So are you experiencing any symptoms, or have you experienced symptoms recently? Do you have the appropriate PPE, and are you willing to follow the guidelines that we have in place before you come in to one of our campuses? Now, probably what has garnered the most buzz in the media when it comes to applications around return to work is this concept of contact tracing. And contact tracing can be done in a number of ways. This could be as basic as some kind of a self-report log, right? Here's who I've been in contact with today. Or we can use integrations to classroom management and attendance systems to figure out who's been in different rooms and who's been in different schools, badging systems. We can use cameras, tracking, Bluetooth low energy devices, all kinds of different technology feeds to tell us who's been where and who they've been in contact with. The concept really is that if somebody reports that they're experiencing symptoms or have tested positive for COVID, we now have the ability to trace who that person or persons has been in contact with. And then if that person is experiencing symptoms, to kind of do a recursive trace until you finally get to people that are symptom-free. There really is to allow you to manage outbreaks. So in the case where something does happen and people do begin reporting symptoms, we really minimize and contain those outbreaks as quickly as possible. So workplace safety management, probably not something that would be used in a campus environment for teachers and students, but definitely something that could be used for auxiliary staff. So the concept here is for workers, and maybe they're workers that can work remotely, but sometimes come in, or maybe they're workers that have to come in some kind of a shift, to be able to do kind of space planning and capacity management. When you're coming in, where are you sitting? Are we making sure that you're sitting in places where we're able to enforce whatever our social distancing guidelines are? We're making sure that when somebody comes in, they have that health attestation and that they've done that already. Workplace PPE Inventory Management. So the concept here is if you are supplying your employees with personal protection equipment at the schools, to be able to manage that inventory of personal protection equipment. And that could be both disposable inventory, so things like masks, or it might be reusable inventory, things like gowns. And what we're able to do is to really manage the inventory levels themselves. So how much do I have of each thing? When do I need to reorder? Who do I order from? To make sure that you always have the correct amount of stock. And then finally also to be able to manage the request for those items as well. All of this kind of ties together into what we call a workplace safety dashboard. That workplace safety dashboard allows you to look at a specific school, campus, or building and see how that location is doing when it comes to metric data that we track around safe return to work. So how many people are coming into the location? Are we following the appropriate guidelines? Do we have the amount of PPE that we need? So we're able to really kind of visualize everything to be put in place around the rules and guidelines that we want locations to follow when it comes to keeping employees and students safe. And then the other thing that we're able to do here is to leverage data from the Health and Human Services Department or the CDC to help make effective decisions. So you might say that if the amount of COVID cases in the county where my campus is located in or where my school is located in spike over 15%, or if the COVID positivity rate spikes by more than 5%, for example, then I want to return to virtual campuses for that period of time when it spiked until it goes down, for example. So we're able to take that data and leverage it to allow you to make effective kind of data-driven decisions around when people come into a campus or when people come into a particular school. Employee travel and safety. So this is really around managing the actual travel of your employees. Do they have to actually take a trip somewhere? If they are taking a trip to a certain area, we want to know that. And then maybe we want to enforce some kind of quarantine. For example, if they visit a state that is having an outbreak of COVID and then they come back. And again, that's something that can be used both for students and employees. And then health and safety testing. So finally, if we are either mandating or asking that our employees or students are tested on some kind of a consistent basis, we can manage and schedule those tests and testing requests as well as managing the results of those tests within ServiceNow. So all of these applications together form the Safe Workplace Suite. And they're really made so that we can take whatever workflow you have in place or whatever you've envisioned as your employee safety plan, and we can model that out in ServiceNow in a way where you achieve the goals that you're setting out to achieve. Now, ServiceNow is a big part of that return to work strategy, but it's not the only part of it. And one of the things that makes CDW unique is that we are able to not just implement ServiceNow and help you with the processes that you need around employee and student safety, but we're also able to implement and integrate the kind of auxiliary technologies to make something like this work. So we're seeing, for example, a number of schools implement thermogates, meaning it's kind of like a thermometer, takes your temperature as you walk through a gate, so we know if anyone is running a fever as they go in and out of the entryways. Things like visitor management, facial recognition, they could be used for contact tracing, and many other technologies that are out there. So we're able to really present to you a solution that works kind of end to end, with ServiceNow as kind of the linchpin of that solution. So I wanted to talk to you specifically about a success story that we have with using ServiceNow to help a school system return to work. And in this case, it was one of the top 5 largest K-12 public school systems in the United States. They have over 500,000 students, teachers, employees, visitors, and contractors. What we found when we started to put the requirements together for the school system is that they had really unique requirements due to primarily the student body being minors. Because of that, we really had to understand the household model for those students that were minors. So when we do contact tracing for a K-12 organization, it's very different than when we do contact tracing for a big corporation, for example. We can't speak with those students directly, and we really need to know who that student's guardian is when we do contact tracing. And that becomes more difficult as households are mixed. So you might have a situation where a student goes to a high school in your district, and that student's guardian lives in a house and is married to someone that isn't the guardian of that student. And maybe that person that they're married to, I'm giving you kind of an actual scenario here, is actually a teacher that works at a totally different school and is the guardian of 2 other students that go to different schools than that. So in a scenario like that, if the student or guardian ends up getting COVID, we have to be able to trace through not just kind of what school they went to, what classmates and teachers they may have been around, but also that household model and how that extends out to other schools within the district. And that's what we're able to do here is create a custom household model to be able to trace through all of those scenarios and ensure that we were controlling, had the ability to control outbreaks regardless of whether they were occurring at one school or multiple schools due to household contacts. And one thing that I thought was really interesting as we continued to help this customer with their challenges is everyone is really kind of doing this for the first time. And because of that, what we found is we can't go out and just present a technology solution here. What we really need to start with is talking to the school system and really understanding what their challenges are or what they see their challenges to be when they start having students return. Then we design the appropriate solution accordingly. So another example of this same customer is, originally they were going to have students do attestations as they came into the intra-array of the school. Well, what we found is no matter how fast we did those attestations, it would take half a day to get a hold of students through the number of entry points that were available at some of the larger schools. So we switched that to a model where attestations happened the night before someone came into a school. And that way we were able to get students in a lot more quickly. Finally, once we have the design and architecture in place, then we have to implement that on the platform, implement that with those corresponding technologies that we were talking about, and do the appropriate integrations. And then, that work is never quite done, and that we're maintaining that solution that's in place and continuing to enhance it once you get it in place. So what does something like that look like? Well, we know that typically when you're looking at a solution like this of workplace safety, safety is something that you want to be able to do as quickly as possible. So we're not getting a lot of, school systems coming to us and saying, yeah, I need this implemented in the next 3 months. We're getting a lot of people coming to us and saying, I need this up this month. I need something by a date that is very close into the future. So we've created a model where we're really able to get a minimum viable product up in days. So within a week or two, you may have a parent portal that's up and running, the ability to do some measure of contact tracing, and some level of household model in place. And then we just continue to add features and layer in features in additional releases. But you're talking about really, a matter of weeks here versus a matter of months. And at this point, I wanted to turn it back over to Mike to see if we have any questions. And Mike, if you're speaking, you are on mute.
I do apologize. I was saying something, and okay. So yes, we have a couple questions here, and one of them has been answered, but might as well ask it in front of the group, and that is whether the emergency apps are they still available?
I think technically they're still available, but we're not really seeing a lot of need for those today.
Yeah, just to add to that, we do have some customers who have decided to implement those in the event that, that something like this happens again. So, those are still available.
Okay. Another question is the variety of apps that you showed, are they available as one-offs, or do you have to get the entire suite altogether?
It is all sold as a suite. So you do purchase the entire suite and have access to all of the applications that are currently in the suite, plus additional applications that may be developed.
Okay. And that kind of leads into another question. Is this a service for ServiceNow users? Is this a ServiceNow module? Or if you don't already use ServiceNow, can you still take advantage of these applications?
So the answer really is both, right? You can take advantage of these if you're an existing ServiceNow customer. So this would be, an additional suite that you add onto your instance. Or if you're not a ServiceNow customer today, this could be a great entry point into the ServiceNow platform for you, and we're seeing quite a bit of that.
But beyond the suite, for new customers, that's all that would be required. So they wouldn't have to purchase other modules with it.
And Jennifer, can you say that one more time? What would they need to get in addition to the suite of apps? What else would they need to get to be functional?
They would just have to purchase the suite itself, which includes the licensing they would need to run those. They don't have to buy other modules of ServiceNow in order to run that suite.
Gotcha. Great. So there's certainly still time for a few more questions. While we're waiting to see if any other questions come in, Jennifer, I'm going to turn it over to you for just a second. So from the perspective of ServiceNow, what are you seeing, and what are maybe some of the key things that you'd like people to walk away with today from the education perspective?
Well, I think there's a couple of things, and Eros, of course, you guys always do such a great job of describing our products and how we're working. But I think that the most important piece is, our kids are all over the place. We have some schools that are, hybrid, some that are in person. We don't really, it's not predictable I think, to anyone what's going to happen in the next few months. Our hope is that kids are in school and we can, educate the way that we always have, but I think that's pretty precarious. And so what the suite really provides you is the safety features that you need to be able to understand how to get everybody back and how to track what's going on so that you can successfully explain to parents and even in some cases to the media that the decision that you've made is the right one. And I think the suite enables you to do that because it provides that assurance that you've got a plan, you've got it in place, you're using it to be able to move forward, to be able to get everybody back. And then just to add to that, I think there's another component that's really important, and it's not included in the suite, but we also do a lot of asset management within our education practice. So our higher ed, our K-12 are using a lot of our software asset and hardware asset tracking solutions to make sure that they know where everything is. Eris talked a little bit about, you've got, you're trying to figure out where the PPE is, but you're also trying to figure out, what's going on beyond that with all the laptops and everything that's out in the field. So that's an additional solution that ServiceNow provides that might be of interest to you.
Yeah. And that's a great point, Jennifer, because what we're really seeing, right, is that the way that school systems communicate with parents and the public and the student body has changed because of this crisis, right? So, if you look at that example we used, the parent portal that we have in place on ServiceNow has really become the primary mechanism of communication to those parents and students, from the support perspective of, hey, I've got, an issue with the Chromebook that you issued me to go to virtual school with, or, hey, I want to come in and speak to a teacher, and how do I do that? Or, hey, what's your public policy around PPE equipment? All of that is happening through the portal now.
Right. So a couple more quick questions, and we're right up to time. Do the mobile apps come with the desktop apps? I think the intent of that question is this whole suite mobile friendly?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's one of the really valuable pieces of it is that you're able to access it, via any device. So being able to track it on your phone or on a iPad or some other device like that is really important because we're also remote. So that's one of the really great features as far as I'm concerned.
Great. Last one here, and I think you addressed this, Eros, when you talked about its ability to integrate with other technologies that are being used right now. But the question is, does contact tracing utilize any proximity technology, such as Bluetooth or GPS, to identify folks who are standing close to each other for long periods of time?
It does.
That would probably involve some kind of integration, wouldn't it?
It does. So we actually have a platform-based integration that ServiceNow built, depending on who your low-energy device vendor is or proximity device vendor is. And then at CDW, we can really integrate to any one of those platforms that are out there. And not just devices. We've got some organizations that are using cameras to track proximity. So you have some options when it comes to that.
Great. So we're right at time here. Thank you, Eros. Thank you, Jennifer, so much. And again, thank you to all of our IT education folks. Really appreciate the unique challenges that you're facing right now and the work that you're doing. Any information that you want to get further, feel free to reach out to your CDW account manager who invited you to this. They can get you connected directly with us, and we can help, again, answer any other questions or get you on the road here with the Safe Workplace applications. Everyone have a great rest of the day, great rest of the week.